Hi, everyone. I am very excited to be here with you as you come into the room. Let me know where you're coming in from, and I will share my slides. Great to be here with you all. All right, hopefully the chat function's working. Feel free to pop where you're coming in from in there. I'll keep an eye on that and the Q&A, and I'll get started because we've only got 30 minutes together. So you can see my slide, I hope. No one's communicating with me yet. Can you see and hear? Yep, great. Thank you, Paul. You can hear me, so that's good. My tech check is successful. I'll keep moving then. So we noticed that there'd been quite a lot of change in the NDIS market and thought it would be helpful to run through this, knowing that NDIS providers are under a lot of financial pressure at the moment, and also, that it's a constantly evolving landscape as well. So I've put together 8 ways to protect and future-proof your business as an NDIS provider. I always like to start webinars with a disclaimer saying this presentation is for general guidance only and legal advice should be taken in relation to taking actions on specific issues. So hopefully that's not too much of a surprise for you to hear that from me. For those of you I haven't met, I'll introduce myself. My name's Sarah Bartholomeusz. I work in the health industry as a lawyer, so I work with all sorts of different health businesses, including not-for-profits, medical practices, allied health professionals, many of whom are NDIS providers as well. So I've been a lawyer now for over 20 years, coming up to 21 years in the next few months, and I absolutely love working with people who make a difference in the world, which is why I work in health. I've written a book called Growing a Medical Practice from Frustration to a High Performance Business. To those of you who are medical practices, I saw there's a few on the list today. And I'm grateful that you're all here. So I'll get to what you're going to learn from coming today. There's a bit to go through with 8 steps, but I'll be talking you through some of the key legal considerations for NDIS providers, from compliance and business structuring to managing practice risk and protecting your practice. We're going to look at where things are now. I'm going to highlight some common pitfalls to watch out for, things that we see go wrong for people regularly, and also outline some practical steps that you can take to strengthen your legal foundations, which will help with the rocky times ahead. If you're an NDIS provider, you'll know that it is already an evolving space with significant legislative reforms that were introduced in October 2024, and they're coming to light more and more now. So it's more important than ever to stay up to date with your legal obligations. First and foremost, compliance with the NDIS is paramount. As a provider, it's critical that you understand and follow the NDIS Code of Conduct and the NDIS practice standards. But there are a number of other important frameworks to be aware of as well. All of them, except that I've mentioned here in the top part of this slide, are mandatory, other than the NDIS Workforce Capability Framework. They're not optional. And so legally that's important, and I'll explain why shortly. So these include the NDIS legislation, rules and regulations, particularly under the National Disability Insurance Scheme Act 2013, the Workforce Capability Framework, worker screening requirements, and additional price rules that apply to your particular services. All of these frameworks are designed to ensure that services delivered under the NDIS are safe, effective, and truly centered around the needs of participants. There's some pros and cons to having like a legislative framework like this that's mandatory. It makes it harder for people just to come in and be NDIS providers. And of course, the priority is keeping the participants safe and making sure that they are getting value for the services that they need for the disabilities that they're living with. It's important to remember that failure to comply with the mandatory obligations can result in serious consequences, and that's a downfall of having a mandatory framework that you work within. And it can include penalties, suspension of your services, or even revocation as of your registration as an NDIS provider. And we have been in touch with an NDIS provider who's kind of not been following these processes and is in a project like the process of having to potentially sell the business to someone who can keep it compliant or shut it down. And they obviously care about the participants that they work with, but haven't set the organisation up in a way that the law requires, and is now really kind of battling to keep control of that business. So it can be an extremely stressful way to run your business if you're doing it non-compliantly. And if you do need support, there's actually a lot of places that you can find that. So I just wanted to start it by saying understanding of compliance is critical. If you do not know that you're an NDIS registered business, then you are not an NDIS business. So we did have some questions when people were registering as a medical professional, am I automatically an NDIS provider? No. As a medical practice, are we registered? Automatically, no. So wanted to start with that one as it was one of the questions that came through. Understanding the compliance that is required of you as well is critical. So regularly reviewing the frameworks is really important because NDIS compliance is changing. So there's a few actions that you as a provider should prioritise and we recommend. So making sure that you're regularly reviewing the relevant frameworks for you, like the NDIS Code of Conduct and Practice Standards, to stay across any changes. Another way to do this, rather than kind of having to trawl through the legislation, which might not be on the top of your list of things to do when you're running a business, is being part of a professional body relevant to your area of practice, or a peak body that's relevant for your area of practice, or the peak body. NDIS peak body can really make your life a lot easier with regular updates that come from them by emails and however else they communicate with you, as well as potential materials that might assist you with your business, can be absolutely worth it. I know there's a lot of Facebook groups that people use to keep in touch as well. So being across those regular changes so that you can make the necessary changes in your business is critical. The second point of this is really implementing clear policies and procedures that reflect the standards and the mandated frameworks, and rolling them out to your staff, making sure that they're properly trained in those, so that is the final point on this slide, to ensure that you're applying the practices, policies and procedures in your day-to-day operations in line with your legal obligations, and the staff understand what those are and why. That can be, a good regular meeting requirement in your meeting rhythms for your business. The way you structure your business can also have a big impact on your legal protection and your ability to grow. Choosing the right structure will affect things like your tax obligations, personal liability, and even your ability to raise funds or bring in new partners or owners. There are various legal structures that you can choose from. You can work as a sole trader, a company, a charity, or not for profit, and there may be other business structures that you work under as well, like a partnership or a joint venture. In this sector where there is a lot of opportunity for growth, we see new NDIS providers with vans on the road and big signs on buildings. So there's obviously opportunity for growth. We see providers sometimes starting out without really thinking about the long-term structure of their business. For example, a sole trader arrangement might seem simple in the beginning, but as your business grows, this can expose you to more personal liability or create limitations when trying to expand or take on staff, as well as potentially complicating your personal tax exposure. Other options like setting up a company or trust structure for a private business can offer greater legal protection and flexibility, but do require that they're properly set up and that they're ongoingly managed, and also that you have a bookkeeper or accountant managing your financial obligations if you're not that way inclined, if you don't have the expertise, or if you're just too busy running the business, because a separate legal entity is like a separate person in your family. So the more you add, the more compliance and oversight's required. But, it won't surprise you to hear that as lawyers, we really do encourage providers to review their structure regularly, especially in a fast evolving market like the NDIS. It's important to be regularly evaluating whether your current structure is still fit for purpose and whether it will support the next stage of your business growth. So hopefully that's got some people thinking. Structuring your business for protection and growth. So when you're thinking about how to structure your business, there are a couple of key actions to consider. It's important to consult with professionals, and so that might be a financial planner, an accountant, a lawyer, to make sure that you choose or have chosen the structure that's most appropriate for your business and your goals. For example, we've worked with clients to explore how different structures will work for them and some benefits and disadvantages of certain structures in their specific circumstances. And that's really a key legal message, isn't it? Like that, it really does depend on your circumstances and what your plans are moving forward to be able to provide that specific advice. You can also consider how you can structure your business to help limit your personal liability. And this can make a big difference in relation to protecting your personal assets and also as your business grows. So bringing on other partners or shareholders, however your business is structured, can be a lot easier for succession planning as well, to have the right structure in place and understand that structure and how it works with your personal goals and your personal structure. Intellectual property rights and confidentiality are critical. Sometimes we have clients who work in the NDIS come to us to see whether they can protect their own business model, and understanding that is important, and I'll work through some intellectual property considerations for NDIS providers here. So it's a competitive and pretty innovative market, the NDIS. I've seen a contact of ours recently launch an AI chatbot for NDIS participants to help them establish who the best NDIS providers are. So using Google and traditional methods of marketing when it comes to AI don't work. So really understanding and protecting your own intellectual property in this current fast evolving market and fast evolving world, really, it's relevant for all business owners to be across how AI is changing the way that we work. But maintaining confidentiality is really essential as well, and the way that we maintain and protect confidentiality is generally through contracts. So think about the materials you've developed already: your logo, brand name, website content, client resources, any unique programs you've created, even your specific policies and procedures. Elements like your brand name and logo can be protected through trademark registration. Other materials like your website content and client resources are typically protected under copyright law and through confidentiality agreements with employees, contractors, and whoever else you're engaging with through your business where you need to protect that information. Taking proactive steps to safeguard these assets can help the value and reputation of your business. It's equally important to manage participant information with care. You're trusted with sensitive personal data, and it's your responsibility to ensure privacy practices comply with the Privacy Act and the Australian privacy principles. As a business that deals with sensitive data, you automatically are covered by this legal principle as well. And some NDIS providers don't really appreciate that. You mandatorily need to have a privacy policy. And otherwise, if you're not dealing with sensitive data or in a category that needs to be covered by the APPs, your turnover needs to be 3 million before you have to worry about the APPs, but not you. You have to do it already just from setting up. So regularly reviewing your privacy policy. We've got a lot of people coming to us at the moment to review their privacy policy because they've started to use AI. And so the way that they're using AI means they need to update their privacy policy. The terms and conditions that you use with participants, any consent forms you use will help keep your business current and compliant with the laws. Being aware in recent years that the privacy laws and associated penalties for non-compliance have been increasingly come more strict through reforms. And we know that because of debacles that organisations like Medibank have had. We know that there's greater scrutiny on these issues, and that when these issues happen, it's not like when someone breaks into your house and everyone blames the person who broke in. In these examples of privacy breaches, we blame the company for letting that happen. And so managing your brand and reputation through having these legal documents in place is critical, and an absolute investment compared to having to deal with a disaster like that. All right, there's more. Here's your key action points. Register your trademarks for your brand name and logos. Get legal support with that if you need to. Many NDIS and allied health businesses use very, very similar names, and they are always very, very upset, which happens quite regularly when someone uses a similar name. So getting ahead of that can also mean much fewer headaches in the future. Ensuring that you've got confidentiality in place with employees and contractors, and that might be just through having really well-drafted clauses in employment agreements and contractor agreements, and implementing robust data protection measures to safeguard client information, which might include a training program to make sure that your team aren't clicking on messages that can then cause your whole database to be locked down and taken by hackers, which has also happened to clients of ours in health. So we know that it happens for a fact. Employment and contractor legal compliance. This is it's a really complex area. We've done a number of webinars on it because it is constantly evolving. So as an NDIS provider, if you employ staff, you're subject to a wide range of employment laws, from fair hiring practices to workplace health and safety to employee rights, benefits and entitlements. This area really is constantly evolving, and even more so when we have a Labor government, which we've had for the past number of years and the coming years as well. So even if you reviewed your agreements 12 months ago, it's something that you should be revisiting regularly. Staying across these developments is essential to ensure your workforce arrangements remain compliant, and that you as the leader are giving your employees everything you need to. There's a new requirement for psychosocial safety, for example. There's new right to disconnect laws as well, and how you're including those in your business is important to avoid potential penalties down the road. If you engage workers as independent contractors, which many NDIS providers do, be mindful of the risk of sham contracting. And what sham contracting is it's intentionally misrepresenting employees as independent contractors to avoid your legal obligations. It can expose your business to legal claims for entitlements like superannuation or payroll tax for larger organisations. And in Australia, the maximum penalties for sham contracting are up to almost $500,000, so $495,000, depending on the size of your business. And it really is an area that we see NDIS providers maybe have started off small using contractors in a flex because they see it as a flexible way, but have really outgrown that model or aren't giving the independent contractors the independence that they need to truly be independent in the law, in the eyes of the law. And there's various different types of laws, state laws and federal laws that will be relevant in this area. So really upskilling yourself on this, getting some advice, absolutely critical, and absolutely no reason to feel ashamed if you have been getting it wrong. Here are the key action points. Consider whether or not you want to engage employees or contractors. Develop clear contracts that outline roles, responsibilities, and remuneration for your employees. Stay informed about changes in employment and NDIS legislation and how they affect your operations. To stay in touch with the employment laws, I signed up to the Fair Work Australia email list, and they send out regular emails. It's great, highly recommended. It's a good way to keep across changes as and when they happen. Foster a safe and healthy work environment to prevent workplace accidents and related liabilities as well. Safety, as the owner of a business, you are 100% responsible for the culture around that and understanding what safety looks like in your industry. For some NDIS providers we know of, they deal with people day in, day out who have very complex mental health issues. And so in that workplace, for example, really making sure that the people who are working with those people have an outlet for sharing about their day, or making sure they feel supported, because every day might feel like a battle if they're not in the right headspace for it. Just some example. Managing contracts and negotiations. Contracts are really at the heart of your business as an NDIS provider. In case you haven't kind of got the vibe of that already, whether you're dealing with clients, subcontractors, suppliers, or other providers, or even with the government agencies, clear, well-drafted contracts can help any misunderstandings, managing expectations, and to give you a strong legal framework if a dispute arises. I didn't mention at the beginning, but I come from a dispute resolution background, and I saw many businesses not recover from a big dispute because of the financial implications, and really having a framework in place through having contracts in place can be the difference between staying alive as a business or it being the end, a big dispute. So whether you're working through government contracts, have a new lease, a service agreement, or any a new opportunity, it's really important to get legal advice before you sign it. In fact, I had feedback from someone who we reviewed a lease for recently, and in that review kind of worked out some issues that they then tried to resolve directly with the landlord and were unable to, so let the opportunity for that space pass. And they said, I ran into somebody who rents in that space and said it is a disaster renting there because of all the issues that we had picked up. And she said, I'm so glad that I invested in having that because you helped me really dodge a bullet there. So I love getting that feedback. It's often hard to know if you've stopped a fire before it gets to the house when that happens, but she had that insight, so it was fantastic. All right. It's really important not to rely on template or off-the-shelf documents or documents that you ask AI to generate for you, because they rarely reflect the specific needs and risks of your business, and can often include legal areas or gaps that leave you exposed. So always consult a real-life legal professional. That's one way I see lawyers really benefiting from AI, to be honest, where people haven't had documents checked that AI has generated for them, and they've ended up in a dispute. So that could be a potential revenue stream for lawyers, since we act more in the protecting practices and businesses area, not for us, but definitely for those litigation lawyers. How to manage contracts and negotiations. Here's the key points. Ensuring that all your agreements are in writing and clearly outline key terms. So for example, having scopes of services, fees and payment terms, termination rights, liability, dispute resolution and confidentiality covered. Always seeking legal advice when drafting or reviewing contracts, especially where they're complex arrangements or you're entering into new partnerships with parties that you aren't already familiar with. Developing a process to regularly review your contracts, renegotiate as necessary, especially as your business grows and evolves. And it might be that you've got contracts in place now that, with the changes to NDIS, might not be financially viable moving forward. So definitely worth considering that. Oh my goodness, I've been talking so much. I've got 4 more minutes to go. So here we go. Insurance. It's a critical safety net. It's really very important in protecting your business from unexpected risks, and it's something every NDIS provider should have in place. The key types of insurance for you to think about are professional indemnity insurance, where that's relevant to cover professional advice or services you provide. Public liability insurance protects you if someone is injured or property is damaged as a result of your business activities, and workers' compensation insurance is mandatory, and so you should have that, which covers you if injuries and illnesses that infect your employees, and in some states also contractors. You need to be covering them through some workers' compensation schemes. So get advice on that if you don't know. We always recommend that our clients work with an insurance broker who really understands the NDIS space, and ideally one who specialises in NDIS providers or medical and health industry, allied health, depending on what area you're in. A general business insurance broker may not be across all of the unique risks or requirements that you need to apply to your business, and the right advice and support from a broker like that can make a huge difference if something does go wrong. Here's your action points. A couple of actions to keep in mind. Take the time to assess the specific risks in your business. Make sure you have the right level of coverage in place. Review your insurance policies as a number 2 at least once a year to make sure they still reflect how your business operates and any changes in growth that you've had. As the business evolves, so do your risks. So it's really important that your insurance keeps pace. All right, dispute resolution. Oh my goodness, 2 minutes to go. Disputes with clients, employees, government agencies, or other businesses can be costly, time-consuming, and can damage your reputation. I've already gone into that a little bit. So having effective dispute resolution mechanisms in place can save you significant time, money, and stress. It's important to approach this proactively. One of the most effective ways to manage disputes is through your contracts, through clear and well-considered dispute resolution clauses. Your overall strategy for resolving disputes should be practical, efficient, and aligned with your overall business goals. When handled well, effective dispute resolution can help you preserve relationships, protect your reputation, and minimize the cost of expensive legal battles. Dispute resolution and legal risk management. Here's our key action points. Develop a clear dispute resolution policy and ensure it's reflected in your contracts and internal procedures. Consider using mediation or arbitration as alternatives to court action. Regularly review the legal risks across your business and implement proactive strategies to mitigate potential disputes before they arise. The legal landscape is constantly evolving, especially in dynamic sectors like disability services. It's crucial to stay informed and seek legal support where necessary. We recommend staying up to date with changes affecting your industry and signing up for letters of professional associations, government agencies, or even you legal. I'll provide the link for our newsletter registration after this session as well. Your key actions: engaging in ongoing legal education through seminars, workshops, newsletters, or online courses, ideally tailored to the NDIS sector, building relationships with a law firm, experience with NDIS and small business matters so that you have reliable advice and ongoing support. Next steps. As you reflect on today's session, I encourage you to think about your legal preparedness, just not as a compliance exercise, but part of building a strong foundation for sustainable growth. It's really an opportunity for continuous improvement in your organisation. Being legally ready protects your business, your staff, and most importantly, the individuals you serve. It helps ensure that you can continue delivering high quality care and support well into the future. Investing in legal protection should really be seen as an investment in the future of your business and your community rather than another cost. At uLegal, our team brings extensive experience and insights into best practices for running successful NDIS provider businesses. We're here to help you build a long-term vision and nurture and protect your business with confidential, practical, and non-judgmental support. We have these fast-track solutions that are tailored to NDIS as well. They're available to purchase on the uLegal website. If you prefer to pay by invoice, we can provide that. And yeah, we can streamline the process for you in a structured way so that you can get these into your business sooner rather than later. How we work, this is the structured process I talked about. Have a look at this. And if you do need expert guidance on drafting, enforcing, or reviewing your agreements, we are here to help. Now, I'm over time, but does anyone have any questions? I'm very happy to stay on the line if we've got questions amongst our cohort. Otherwise, we'll be in touch with you. Thanks for coming along. If you're watching now or on the replay, we do have also a Facebook group, which you're welcome to join as an allied health provider or NDIS provider, uLegal for Doctors if you're not in there. Stop my sharing. No questions coming through. Glad that was helpful, Paul. Thanks for coming along, and we'll send out the recording so that can be distributed as well. Paul, if you've got anyone else that you'd like to send it to, thank you for coming along, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.